So I've never done this before, record a YouTube video from my car, but I don't always have time to do everything that I need to do, and so sometimes I have to think of new ways to do the things that I need to do so that I could do the things that I need to do. So when I started doing these YouTube videos, which I know I haven't done one in a long time. It's been about a month since my last YouTube video. Sounds like I'm going to confession. But it's been about a month since my last YouTube video. And when I started doing these, I would actually go onto YouTube and you know, there's a lot of good material out there on how to do these videos. And you know, I would watch what other people do. And there are a lot of people who put out some good tutorials and things like that. You know, what are some techniques and what are some things to look out for, and you know, what's the right equipment to use, cameras, lights, audio, and that sort of thing. And it's been really interesting for me. I've really enjoyed learning how to do all those things, and I'm a super amateur. Hopefully getting better at this. But anyway, I've been, you know, since I've been doing this, I've been rummaging around on YouTube quite a bit lately. And one of the things that I've noticed, videos that are popping up on YouTube, is that, you know, there are a lot of videos out there about minimalism and how to live a minimalist lifestyle. And if you don't know what minimalism is, you actually do, because we as Catholics understand minimalism much better than most. But basically, when these people are going on and writing videos or filming videos on YouTube about minimalism, it all comes from a realization that, you know, we live in a very materialistic culture and a very consumeristic world. And, you know, there are people who think that the more stuff they have, the happier they will be. And people, either consciously or subconsciously, have come to realize that, you know, that's a lie, right? That, you know, having things doesn't make us happy. In fact, having things can sometimes make us unhappy unhappy because we become enslaved by our material possessions. And there have been people who have really come to realize that. And so they begin to live a lifestyle of minimalism, which doesn't mean not having things, but it means trying to be less dependent on things. And for those who are doing this, their goal is to have mental and emotional freedom. And actually the end goal of doing this is so that they can be more productive in their lives. Right? So instead of being enslaved by things, they are free to accomplish things in their life, to be more productive. Right? And you know, all that is good. You know, there's, you know, and as Catholics we would agree somewhat with that. You know, we are mental and emotional beings who can become enslaved by things, and so it's good for us to detach ourselves from things so that we are not enslaved by them. But for us as Catholics, we understand this on a whole new level, on a higher level, I should say, because we're not just mental beings or emotional beings, we are spiritual as well. And so there are other higher, more important reasons for us to not be attached to things. And so, I think of Jesus' encounter with the rich young man in the Gospels. So the rich young man approaches Jesus and says, what must I do to inherit eternal life? Which is a good question, of course. That's something we should always be asking ourselves. What must I do to inherit eternal life? And so Jesus says to the rich young man, obey the commandments. To which he says, I already do that. I already obey the commandments. And so Jesus says, then go home, sell all your possessions, give it to the poor, and come follow me. And what happens? The rich young man goes away feeling sad. And it's because, of course, that he has many possessions. But it's even not so much that he has a lot of possessions, it's that he is attached to those possessions. And so attached that the thought of giving them up makes him sad. And I say it's not even the quantity of his possessions, because even people who are poor, even people who don't have a lot of things, can become attached even to the little that they have. So it's not even so much the quantity of possessions, it's the fact that sometimes we can become so attached to them. And when the invitation to follow Jesus comes upon our hearts, what should make us happy, that should make us happy, but what makes us happy actually ends up making us very sad, because we are attached to material things or worldly possessions. And so while it's praiseworthy that people are discovering this minimalist movement, number one, for us as Catholics, this isn't anything new. Jesus called us to be detached from material things and worldly things. But number two, we do it not just for mental health or emotional health, although those are certainly some benefits that could come about. We do it for spiritual benefits. And that's what's key. We give up things, we practice self-denial. Number one, to show that we don't need those things. And instead, to show others that what we really need and what we really desire is God and His love. And so we empty ourselves of material things, not just for the sake of emptying ourselves, but so that we could be filled with the things of God. There's a great book that I read many years ago by an author. His name is Father Thomas Dubé. Father Dubé passed away a few years ago, but he used to be on EWTN back in the Mother Angelica days. But he's written a lot of great books on spiritual direction. And one of the books that he wrote that I read several years ago is a book called Happy Are You Poor? And if I remember, when I get back to my computer and I download this, I will try to put a link to that book in the description. But Happy Are You Poor? By Father Thomas Dubé. And in one part of that book, he writes that we don't empty ourselves just for the sake of emptying ourselves. We empty ourselves so that we could be filled with the things of God. And so that's one of the reasons why we practice self-denial and detachment, so that instead of being filled with the things of the world, we could be filled with the things of God. Right? So true minimalism is not just about being freed from material things. It's being freed freed from them so that we can become slaves of God. Okay? So that's number one. And number two, when we detach ourselves from things, when we give up things, we give them up because God first sacrificed everything for us. God sent His only begotten Son into the world to suffer and die for us. Jesus gave up everything for us on the cross. And so when we give up things, we do it for God, who first gave up everything for us. In other words, our minimalism is a response to God and His sacrifice for us. We sacrifice for God because He sacrificed for us first. Right? And so everything we do is always out of response for God. And so, with Lent coming up, where Ash Wednesday begins February 17, so with Lent coming up, it's a good time for us to start thinking, okay, what are the things in my life that I am overly attached to? What are the things that if God asked me to give it up, would I be like the rich young man and walk away sad? If so, then it could mean that I'm overly attached to it. So, we're during Lent we have this practice of giving up things for Lent. Think about what are those things that you might be overly attached to, and use Lent as an opportunity to give up those things. So hopefully that's something that can help you as we prepare for Lent, which is coming up pretty soon. So a couple of announcements. The first thing is that next Wednesday, February the 10th, next Wednesday, February the 10th, we will begin our 40 hours devotion. So that Wednesday we will still have the 8 o'clock Mass in the morning, but we'll have a special Mass at 4 p.m. and that will begin our 40 hours devotion. Following that Mass, we'll expose the Blessed Sacrament, and the Blessed Sacrament will remain exposed on the altar for the entire 40 hours until just before the 8 o'clock Mass on Friday morning. And so what we need are people who will come to adoration at any of the hours during the 40 hours devotion. So there's a sign-up sheet in the main vestibule of the church, and so please sign up for 1 hour or more. We need to have at least one person at every hour, ideally two. Better would be more. So if you see that 2 people are signed up for a particular hour, and you still want to come to adoration at that time, by all means come. Just because there are 2 who are committed to that hour doesn't mean that we would like more. The more the better, of course. But also, if you could help fill all the time slots, that would be appreciated. So adoration will begin, as I said, 4 o'clock Wednesday afternoon, and will continue until Friday, just before the 8 o'clock Mass in the morning. The only time the Blessed Sacrament will not be on the altar is during the 7 p.m. Mass on Thursday. And at various times during the 40 hours, there'll be some public prayers like the Rosary, Liturgy of the Hours, Divine Mercy Chaplain. But for the most part, it will be a time of silent prayer. Most important thing, most powerful thing that we could do for our country and for the church is pray. And so that's what we're going to be doing during our 40 hours devotion. So these are the announcements from my car. I have to stop now because I need to pay attention to how fast I'm driving. So I will see you in church. God bless you.